Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. Murtaza Jafarji, Chair, Advocate Institute.
Thank you. My comments are that my prognosis is going forward, this economy is going to go through a very bumpy ride. And the analysis is very simple, that we have about $4 billion worth of foreign reserves. Every year we have about $5 billion worth of debt payment to be made. So far we have been using liquidity management tools like swaps or short-term borrowings to keep the ball rolling. But there will be a time, perhaps in the next 6 to 12 months, that this strategy might not work. And therefore we are not going to be good for the money, and we will not be able to pay back our foreign creditors. Now, this crisis basically is not something that has been created by this government. This has been probably 70 years in the making. Since independence, it is only on 4 years that we had a primary balance surplus, which is revenue minus expenditure without interest. The first two was in 1956 and 1957, and then we had in 2017 a very marginal primary balance, and in 2018. But in every year, besides these 4 years, we have been running large primary balances. And the first 30 years after independence, we ran large primary balances, the debt accumulated, and then it has been compounding. And the interest is growing at an exponential rate. At the beginning of this year, our debt to GDP was 100%. It's already hit in the middle of the year 105, and it's probably going to end up at 110%. With this enormous amount of debt, we cannot pay our debtors, and therefore we will have to take some very strong medication. So as an analogy, every election in Sri Lanka is like a sugar high. As Lee Kuan Yew famously said, it's an auction of non-existing resources. So we give a sugar high, and this economy has been given sugar highs for decades. And if you have too much of sugar, you invariably get diabetes. And that is what you'd call a comorbidity. And COVID came, and those with comorbidities are more susceptible. That is why we are in this predicament. So the only way that we can come out of this is like when you have diabetes, you have to have a lifestyle change. You also have to take strong medication and control your sugar level. Similar to that we will have to fundamentally change the way our economy is working. The first thing is that we just do not collect enough taxes. And taxes, I repeat, is something that the rich pay. Taxes are not for the poor. 50% of national income is derived by the top 20% of households. And if you have a progressive tax system, 65% of the tax burden in the country should be paid by the top 20% of households, including people like myself. And I don't know why repeated governments are unable to do that, because it is not politically difficult to tax the rich. That resonates well with most of the population. The second thing is prosperity will come through markets. We have to embrace markets, not intervene in markets. It's not always that markets work, but in most cases they do work. And when they don't work, we have to be very clinical and intervene in the markets